a lot of information about there about properties, what's a good investment, what's not. For you, Sam, what separates an average investment from a really good one?
Property in general, if it's done right, it's never going to be not profitable. Something that I've done in the past a lot with the family, so I can give you direct examples. You know, you'll go and buy a typical 4-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house. You could get that at auction. A lot of the times you'll just buy it in the traditional way. You'll throw your 25% buy-to-let mortgage on it. You'll have a tenant in there. Tenants will be 6 months to 12 months. They'll be covering the mortgage and paying you out 400 quid on margin, which is great. I'd never talk anyone out of doing that. Very hands-on. You will have a lot of things that will come out of the woodwork in the way of not necessarily problems, but niggling issues. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're asking me what a high-performing asset, what I consider a high-performing asset is, which I'm a massive fan of at the moment, if you were to secure an apartment on a long-term leasehold in a reputable city, an up-and-coming city that you know, bearing in mind what I said before about 50% of the world's population living in city centres, the demand is there. You're never going to have a worry with that demand. There's a potential in the future that you could get Airbnb permission on this unit as well. So you've even opened up that capability. That unit's going to manage itself. You're going to have a relatively high-paid professional there because it's city centre, and this is what tends to attract them sorts of professionals. And I think that's not necessarily a safer bet than the other one I mentioned, but it's a much higher performing investment. So you're going to get higher yield from it. You're going to make more money from it. I personally think your cash outlay is going to be very minimal because you have what's called a service charge on these assets, which means that you are basically insured. But I find with apartments, city centres, holiday destinations, long-term lease, self-management, that's what I'd refer to as a high-performing asset. Something that you have nothing really to do with, that you know is going to perform every month, that is going to allow you to leverage into your next one quite quickly. And the bank's going to be really happy with lending on it. That's how I differentiate, I think, a high-performing asset from an okay performing asset. But I don't think in UK property there's any such thing as a bad performing asset if you do it right.